Hey, how's it going? Bill Lethman here for Money Evolution. In this video, I'm going to be talking about what to do if you don't like your 401k plan. So we all know 401k plans are sort of the keystone of many of our retirement planning strategies. It's very easy, very convenient. Money comes directly out of your paycheck every time you get paid and goes right into an investment account before you even have a chance to spend it. So there's a lot of very good things about 401k plans, but one of the things about 401k plans is that they might be a little bit more limited on investment options. And for some plans, especially if you're working for a smaller company, there may not be very many options and you may not necessarily be overly crazy about those investment options. So in this video, I'm going to talk about some different options and strategies that you can do if you don't really like your 401k plan, a little bit of some workarounds, and then at the very end, I'm going to talk about a special feature that your 401k plan might have that could allow you to get access to a whole bunch of additional investment options that you don't see on the regular investment menu. So be sure to stick around to the end for that. And real quick though, before I get into the content of today's video, if you're watching this and you'd like to learn more about what we do at Money Evolution, head over to moneyevolution.com. There we've got all kinds of great resources there. We're really trying to build it out into an information super hub for personal finance, retirement planning topics, covering basically almost everything related to those areas. You can also learn about our comprehensive financial plan called the Money Evolution Plan and our self-guided DIY retirement planning program called the Retirement Time Machine. So check that out. We've also got some links down in the description below there. So let's talk about this. So if you don't like the options in your 401k plan, a couple things you can do. But one thing that I would recommend for pretty much everybody is if your 401k plan has a match, you want to make sure that you're contributing at least enough money to get that match. That is what I call free money. In order to get that free money, you have to make a contribution to get it. So you have to understand what your plan rules are for getting that. Sometimes you could get a certain percentage of your salary. So if you contribute up to 4%, they're going to contribute 4% on top of that. So if you make $100,000, you put $4,000 in, they're going to put $4,000 in on top of that. So that's great. Or sometimes it's maybe a partial contribution where 50 cents on the dollar up to the first 8%. So you put 8% in, and they're going to give you 4%. So you put $8,000 in, they're going to give you $4,000 back. So knowing what that is and contributing enough to get the match is always probably the best option for most people there. The second thing, as you're looking at some of these other strategies, we want to be thinking about, are you contributing to a traditional 401k or a Roth 401k. I'm going to leave the why of that to a different video there, but basically it has to do with your tax bracket now versus where you think your tax bracket's going to be in the future there. So if you're in a high tax bracket now, you think it might be lower in the future, that's going to be traditional, but if it's the opposite, if you're in a lower tax bracket now than you think it's going to be in the future, then maybe the Roth makes more sense there. So understanding that is going to be kind of a little bit key to what I'm going to talk about right here. Number 3 is going to be, you could contribute to your spouse's plan. So depending on how much you're trying to max out with the savings in your retirement account, if let's say you're both only contributing part of the money up to the maximum contribution limits and you don't really like yours, maybe you contribute up to that matching contribution limit to get the maximum match. And if you like your spouse's 401k plan options better, you could just increase the contributions to their plan and do it that way. So we'll put that there, spouse's 401k, and always be looking at that. Another thing, just kind of on a side note there, you could also look at different investments inside those plans. So you may find that you like some of the international investment options, let's say just as an example inside your 401k plan, but your spouse's 401k plan doesn't have as good of an international option if that's something you want to do. So you can kind of tweak that asset allocation, kind of really customize it, really. You don't have to have the same asset allocation for both of your accounts. You could be looking at that sort of globally across all those different balances, so you could really highlight what some of those different options are there. Number 4 is you could do a Roth IRA, and that's why I brought that up earlier. Do you want to be saving in the traditional or do you want to be saving in the Roth? So if you have a 401k plan, you're not going to qualify for making a tax-deductible contribution to a traditional IRA account because you're covered by a company-sponsored retirement plan. So a Roth IRA account may be an option there. Again, that money's going to go in after taxes, but you do get the tax-free growth as long as it comes out in retirement as a qualified distribution there. So a Roth IRA may be a good option. There are some income restrictions on this. So if you're filing a single tax return for 2024, the restriction is going to be $146,000. So if you make under $146,000, you can make a contribution to your Roth account, and if you make over that, you'd start to get phased out for I think maybe about $10,000, and then after a certain amount, you won't be able to make that contribution at all. If you're married, filing a joint tax return, that number for 2024 is $230,000 or less to be able to make that full contribution to a Roth IRA account. So if you qualify for that, that may be a way to get some savings there. And sometimes it's a good idea just to have a mix. I think that's almost always a good idea, is to have a mix of traditional and Roth. And that Roth is going to give you more protection against higher taxes in the future there. Number 5 is going to be a backdoor Roth contribution. So if you're single and make over $146,000 a year, or you're filing a joint tax return making over $230,000, you can't make that contribution directly to a Roth IRA account, but you can do it through a backdoor strategy, which involves making a non-deductible contribution to a traditional IRA account and then immediately converting that over to a Roth IRA account. This only really works the way it's intended if you have no other IRA accounts out there. So if you have any other IRA accounts in existence, you're going to come into something called the pro rata rules, and it's going to make it very difficult to be able to do this, the strategy there. It's not going to really, like I said, have the intended effect on that. But if you don't have any IRA accounts, you can do this backdoor Roth strategy. Incidentally, let's say your spouse has an IRA account. Maybe they rolled over their 401k plan into an IRA account, so they have an IRA account, but you don't have any existing IRA accounts, or vice versa. You can do this backdoor Roth on the spouse that doesn't have any existing IRA accounts, even if the other spouse does. So I just wanted to give a little clarification on that. And then this is really one of the biggest things here too, and I could have led with this, but some 401k plans have an option that's called the self-direct 401k, sometimes they call it the self-directed window or the brokerage window, lots of different names there. And they may not necessarily come out and really highlight this feature inside your 401k plan. I come across people all the time that have this option that don't even know that they had it. And when they inquired about it, they found out that they could in fact do this self-direct 401k. And that's basically where you have a 401k, and inside that 401k plan, you just basically create a separate account, a self-directed brokerage, self-directed IRA. So it's basically an account within your 401k. So it doesn't leave the company that you're with or the investment provider. But inside that self-directed brokerage window, you're going to get access to more investment options. Every one of them is a little bit different, and it depends on what your plan administrator may have set up. But it could give you access to mutual funds that are not on the core menu. Maybe sometimes you can pick from almost any mutual fund that's out there, although a lot of 401k plans will have some restrictions on things that are overly speculative and things of that nature, but you may have access to mutual funds. You may have access to buying individual stocks or ETFs, which are exchange-traded funds. And you may have access to all three of those areas. You may have access to mutual funds, but not stocks and ETFs, or you may have access to stocks and ETFs, but not mutual funds. I've seen it both ways. And just understand that if you get involved in the self-directed brokerage window, you're going to have to do a lot more homework. It's not for people that want to be a little bit more passive with their investments. Definitely is something for more sophisticated investors there, but doing a little bit of homework and a little bit of research. My philosophy is always that I would rather have more investment choices than fewer investment choices. If you have fewer, you're kind of stuck with that little basket, but if you have more, you can choose to use that or you can choose not to use it, but you have those at your disposal for that. Some self-directed brokerage windows may limit how much of your 401k plan can go into it. So I've seen it where maybe only 50% of your 401k could go into the self-directed brokerage account. Some basically let you put it all in there if you want. It just depends on what your plan provider is allowing there. There may be and probably will be some extra fees and commissions on that. What I've seen is that the brokerage fees to buy and sell stocks and ETFs tend to be pretty low, maybe not as low as some discount places that you can buy securities through, but still not anything overly excessive. And then, of course, if you get into ETFs and mutual funds, there's going to be some fund management fees that are going to be in that too. So make sure you're doing all of your homework on that. So again, if you don't like your 401k plan, a couple of options. Before you do all of this, you want to have a long-term plan really kind of mapped out, know how much money you want to save or how much money you should be saving towards your retirement, and balancing that out between having some fun, living for today, enjoying life, and saving some money for the future. We don't want to be so focused on saving today that we don't do anything fun and we just say, hey, we're going to do all this fun stuff when we retire. Believe me, I've seen people that do that. But we've also seen the opposite too. We're going to have all this fun today, but they're not saving anything for their retirement. So it's got to be a happy medium. That's why you want to have a plan so you know how much money you should be saving, that you've got a good trajectory towards achieving the goals that you have for being able to retire when you want and having the lifestyle that you want for retirement. So anyway, hope you enjoyed today's video. If you want, again, to learn more about what we do, check out moneyevolution.com. Some of the links down in the description, and I'll see you back in one of my next videos. Thanks.